roll. Hello everybody. I'm happy to be here addressing you today about one of my favorite topics. This is my favorite workshop, Transition to Transformation. And I always start my workshops with a quote. And this is my favorite quote of all. Just when the caterpillar thought life was over, it became a butterfly. And butterflies are my favorite part of transition because in order for a butterfly to become a butterfly, a caterpillar has to crawl into a cocoon, it becomes mush, it has to completely reinvent itself, break itself out of the cocoon, walk around wobbling on its feet, and then fly away to follow its dreams. So today, we're going to talk about the process that it takes to learn how to follow your dreams. So my story, how do I stand in front of you today? And I'm going to talk about my face down in the ring moment because everybody has a face down in the ring moment. I'm Joan Axelrod, the president of Loving Keisha's Gourmet, and that's the way most of you know me. But I'm also the president of Empowered Possibilities Coaching. How did I become the president of Empowered Possibility? That was my face down in the ring moment. For 17 years, I was the vice president of sales and marketing. I loved my life. I spent my life on planes. I sold to Fridays. I sold to Chili's. I went all over the globe going out for great dinners. I was never home and I was miserable. There were parts of my job that I loved. I loved mentoring, I loved leading, and I loved having the ability to form people's lives. What I didn't love was I didn't love not being in touch with myself and not being in touch with my home. So I had what I like to call my face down in the ring moment, and every January I would get my Platinum Marriott card reward letter congratulating me because I had been away 75 days that year. 75, and they were congratulating me. They should have been apologizing and they should have been sending my family a fruit basket. And every December, I would have the same breakdown. I would be exhausted. I would be tired. I would be at the end of my rope, and I would be knowing that I couldn't face another year doing it again. And I remember walking on the hill and trying to figure out what I would do next. And I remember crying and calling my friend Gretchen, more on personal boards later, and her saying to me, you know, crying is not a strategy. And that was so powerful to me. Because I remember thinking, you're right, crying is not a strategy, and complaining every year was not a strategy. What I needed is I needed a plan. So I got off the hill, and I went down, and I made a decision that very day. I made a decision that I was not going to live that way for one more moment, that I was going to do something, that I was going to change my life, that I was going to have a vision, and I was going to live the rest of my life happy. I loved helping people, I loved mentoring people, I loved developing people, and that was just what I was going to do. But I knew in order to do that it was going to be hard work. So I registered for NYU, I decided that I was going to be a coach, and I decided that I was going to stand in front of you today, and there's nothing that was going to stop me from that plan. So, can you fearlessly describe a transition you're encountering? Ask yourself, what is really going on here? Is there something in your life that you are refusing to see? Are you failing to see the signs? I mean, I knew that I was unhappy. I knew that I couldn't do this one moment. I knew that all the signs were pointing me in a different direction, but I refused to see it. And what were your limiting beliefs, fears, and blockers? Well, every time I got to the point where I was about to do something, something inside of me would say, I'm too old to go back to school. Or nobody was ever going to listen to me if I was going to become a motivational speaker. Or if I became a blogger, was anybody going to read my blogs? Or I would say, you know what, I could do this, but the grass is always greener. So there were fears, and there were limiting beliefs, and there were blockers. And these are the things that keep us from following our dreams. So how are your limiting beliefs, and how are they holding you back in your life? What things are you not doing, and how are they holding you back? So I want you to list 2 or 3 things that you are doing that are to stay relevant. So I had to take a really long look at myself, and I had to say, if I was going to go out and I was going to become a motivational speaker, and I was going to become a blogger, did I have the communication skills that were going to be necessary to get myself out there? Everybody turns around and they say, oh, I want to be relevant, or oh, I can't believe that I'm the person who didn't make that job, or oh, I became a coach, but nobody wants to coach with me. Well, it's your responsibility to go out there and get your message out there. So if you want to be good at social media, I went back to school and I spent 2 weeks in digital marketing school. I needed to learn a new skill. I needed to not be afraid of it. So it's your responsibility not only to face your limiting beliefs, but you also have to do whatever it is to stay relevant today. The other thing you have to say is your life and your career in line with what you're good at. Just because you decide that you want to do something, it doesn't necessarily believe that it's in line with what your talents are. Are you somebody who wants to be an accountant but you're not good at numbers? Or are you somebody that wants to be a triathlete but doesn't even know how to run down the block? So I decided that I wanted to be a motivational speaker, and I decided that I wanted to be a coach, but I also had years of experience successfully mentoring people and years of experience developing teams. So it wasn't as if I picked a skill out of a hat and decided to develop it. It was based on something, and it was based on something that was in alignment with, number one, what I love to do, but it was also based on something that was in my talent pool. Then you have to look at what your assets are, you have to look at what your gifts are, and you have to look at what your powers factors are. Now here's how I'm going to break it down. Your assets are things that you bring to the table. Your asset might be that you're good at numbers, so you go to school to become good at numbers. Or your assets might be you're good at team building and you're a people person. That's an asset. That's something that's brought to the table. A gift might be something that you're born with. You're a gifted singer, you're a gifted writer, you're a gifted artist. Those are things that you can embellish, but those are things that are actually raw talent that you'll go out and you'll embellish. Now, a power factor, I want you to think of a superhero. Your power factor is that special magical power that sets you apart from everybody else. Now, whenever I do an interview, I'm also the recruiter for the company, I always ask people an interview question that totally sets them off kilter. I ask them if they were a superhero, what superhero they would be and why. And the reason I ask them this is everybody has an innate power and everybody has an innate weakness, and this is what sets them apart from everybody else. I always like to say that I'd like to be Wonder Woman, not for the obvious reasons, oh, woman, Wonder Woman. I like it because she has a magic lasso and she's able to rope everybody in and also bring people in her invisible plane. That's because she's a connector and she knows exactly where to be and when to be there. I also think she's got cool boots and cool bracelets, but that's not the reason I pick her. So you want to think about what your power factors are, what your assets, and what your gifts are. Those are the things that you're going to bring to the table when you're trying to decide what you want to do in transition. And then, of course, you're going to take it up a notch. What is your awesomeness factor? Now, your awesomeness factor might not be something that you would bring on an interview, but it's something about you that's memorable. It's something about you that's going to set you apart. Because